You can't quite put your finger on it, but you know it's there. It's this deep sense that you don't fully belong, not in your family, not in your social circles, and sometimes not even in the world itself. It's not a matter of ego or pride. It's not about feeling better than anyone else. It's more like an ache, a subtle but persistent reminder that you're different, and that difference can feel like a curse, especially when it comes to the people closest to you, your family. Have you ever sat at a family gathering, looked around the room, and felt like you were on a completely different wavelength?
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lessons.
Everyone else seems to fit into a pattern, a shared way of thinking, behaving, perceiving the world. But you feel like you've been dropped into a reality that wasn't built for you. You notice things they don't. You question things they accept. And because of this, you're often misunderstood, ridiculed, or even rejected outright. Let me tell you something, that feeling, that disconnect, it's no accident. It's not a flaw in you. It's the very evidence of your purpose. You see, chosen ones, those of us who are here to break patterns, challenge norms, and elevate consciousness, are rarely born into families that mirror who we are. Why? Because the very reason we're here is to disrupt the status quo. And how can you disrupt something if you're fully accepted by it? This is where the idea of being the black sheep comes in. The black sheep isn't just the one who's different. The black sheep is the one who sees the dysfunction in the family system. The black sheep is the one who feels the unspoken pain, who notices the generational cycles of trauma, of fear, of limitation. And because you see it, you can't unsee it. You can't just go along with it like everyone else does. You feel called, no, compelled to break those cycles. But breaking cycles isn't easy. It's messy, it's painful, and it's lonely. Think about it. When you challenge the way things have always been, you threaten the comfort of those around you. Families, like all systems, thrive on stability. Even if that stability is built on dysfunction, it's still stability. And when you show up as the black sheep, you become a disruptor. You're the one who asks the hard questions. Why do we always sweep things under the rug? Why do we avoid talking about the truth? Why do we treat love like it's conditional, something that has to be earned or proven? If you've ever dared to ask these questions, you've probably noticed how quickly the walls go up. Suddenly, you're too sensitive, too dramatic, or too different. But let me tell you something, their resistance to you isn't a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of their fear, because deep down they know you're right. They know you're shining a light on the very things they've been trying to avoid for years, maybe even generations. And for most people, that level of truth is terrifying. Here's the wisdom I want to share with you. Being the black sheep is not a punishment. It's a calling. You were chosen because you have the strength to see the truth, to feel the pain, and to still choose love. You were chosen because you have the courage to break the cycles that your family may never even acknowledge, let alone confront. And here's the most beautiful part: by breaking those cycles, you're not just freeing yourself. You're freeing them too, even if they don't realize it, even if they never thank you for it. But let's get practical for a moment. How do you actually navigate this path? How do you hold space for your own growth while still being surrounded by people who may not understand you, who may even judge or reject you? The first step is acceptance, not acceptance of their behavior, but acceptance of your role. You have to own the fact that you are different, that you are here to walk a path they may never understand. And that's okay. Your purpose is not contingent on their approval. Your purpose is your own. Next, you have to set boundaries. As chosen ones, we often feel a deep sense of responsibility for others. We want to heal them, help them, save them. But here's the truth: you can't save anyone who isn't willing to save themselves. What you can do is lead by example. You can show them what healing looks like, what self-love looks like, what truth looks like. And sometimes the best way to do that is by stepping back, by protecting your energy, by refusing to engage in the patterns you're here to break. And finally, you need to find your tribe. Just because your family doesn't see you doesn't mean you're meant to walk this path alone. There are others like you, other black sheep, other chosen ones who are walking their own paths of transformation. Seek them out. Connect with them. Because when you find your tribe, you'll realize that your differences are not a burden. They're a gift. A gift that can change the world. So let me ask you, are you willing to embrace the role you've been given? Are you willing to see your rejection as redirection? Are you willing to step into the fullness of who you are, even if it means walking a lonely road? Because here's the truth: the road may be lonely, but it's also sacred, and it's leading you somewhere beautiful. Let's talk about what it really means to carry this responsibility. It's not just about being different or seeing things others don't. It's about what you do with that awareness. Because the truth is, being the black sheep, being the chosen one, it's not just a label, it's a role. And with that role comes a responsibility that's both heavy and beautiful. You've probably noticed how much energy it takes, haven't you, to live in a family where you're constantly navigating their misunderstandings, their judgments, their projections. It's exhausting. And let's be honest, sometimes you wonder if it's worth it. Why couldn't you have been born into a family that just gets it? Why couldn't you have had parents or siblings who see the world the way you do, who nurture your gifts instead of questioning them? But here's the thing: you weren't born into that kind of family because you didn't come here to be comfortable. You came here to grow. And growth doesn't happen in comfort. Growth happens when you're stretched, challenged, even broken. That's the sacred responsibility of the chosen one, to take what breaks you and turn it into something that heals. To take the very rejection you faced and use it to build something stronger, something wiser, something more loving. Let's get real for a moment. Families are complicated. They have histories, dynamics, unspoken rules. And most of the time, those rules are about survival. Don't rock the boat. Don't make things uncomfortable. Don't talk about what's really going on. But then there's you. You don't follow those rules, do you? You can't. Because something in you knows that survival isn't enough. You're not here to just survive, you're here to live, to thrive, to create something better. And that's why your presence feels like a threat to them. It's not because you're wrong. It's because you represent something they don't yet know how to face. Think about the patterns you've seen in your family. Maybe it's avoidance. Maybe it's control. Maybe it's a fear of vulnerability, or a need to always keep up appearances. Whatever it is, it's a cycle, a loop that keeps playing out, generation after generation. And here you are, standing in the middle of it, seeing it for what it really is. That's not an easy place to be. But it's also a powerful place to be. Because once you see the pattern, you have a choice: you can either repeat it, or you can break it. Breaking it, though, that's the hard part. It means you have to face everything your family has been avoiding. You have to confront the pain, the fear, the unspoken truths. And you can't do it with blame or anger, even if those emotions are justified. You have to do it with love. Not the kind of love that lets people walk all over you, but the kind of love that says, I see the pain you're carrying, and I refuse to carry it for you. I'm going to heal myself, and in doing so, I'm going to show you that healing is possible. But let's not sugarcoat this. Healing yourself while staying connected to your family. It's one of the hardest things you'll ever do, because as you grow, as you change, they may resist even more. They may try to pull you back into the old patterns, not because they're bad people, but because it's what feels safe to them. They may accuse you of being selfish, of thinking you're better than them, of abandoning them. And that's where the real test comes in. Can you stay grounded in your truth, even when they don't understand it? Can you keep loving them, even when they push you away? Can you stay open, even when everything in you wants to shut down? You have to remember this: your growth isn't just for you. It's for them too, even if they never say it, even if they never show it. Because every time you choose to break a cycle, you're not just changing your life, you're changing the entire lineage. You're shifting something that's been stuck for generations. And that's not a small thing. That's a revolution. But revolutions don't happen overnight. They happen in moments, in the small, quiet choices you make every day. The choice to speak your truth, even when your voice shakes. The choice to walk away from toxic dynamics, even when it hurts. The choice to love yourself, even when they don't. And speaking of love, let's talk about that for a second. Because love is the foundation of everything we're talking about here. Real love. Not the kind that's conditional, not the kind that says, I'll love you if you fit into my box, if you make me comfortable, if you don't challenge me. No, I'm talking about the kind of love that says, I see you, even when you can't see yourself. I love you, even when you don't love me back. But I also love myself enough to walk away if I have to. That kind of love is rare. It's powerful. And it's exactly what you're here to embody. But to embody it, you have to start with yourself. You can't give that kind of love to others if you're not giving it to yourself first. So stop for a second. Take an honest look at how you treat yourself. Are you as kind to yourself as you are to others? Are you as patient with your own growth as you are with theirs? Or are you constantly criticizing yourself, doubting yourself, holding yourself to impossible standards? Because here's the truth: if you're going to carry this role, if you're going to be the one who breaks the cycles, you have to take care of yourself. You have to rest when you're tired. You have to forgive yourself when you stumble. You have to remind yourself over and over again that you're not here to be perfect, you're here to be real. And being real means you're going to get it wrong sometimes. That's okay. What matters is that you keep going. What matters is that you don't give up on yourself, even when it feels like everyone else has. So let me ask you this: are you willing to forgive them, not for their sake, but for yours? Are you willing to forgive yourself for the times you've doubted your path, for the times you've tried to fit in when you knew you were meant to stand out? Are you willing to stop waiting for their approval and start living for your truth? Because at the end of the day, being the chosen one isn't about them. It's about you. It's about who you're becoming. It's about the love you're learning to give, the courage you're learning to embody, the truth you're learning to live. And that's the real gift. At some point, you have to stop looking at rejection as something that's happening to you and start seeing it as something that's shaping you. Because here's the harsh reality: rejection isn't going anywhere. It doesn't matter how much you heal, how much you grow, or how much love you learn to give. People will still misunderstand you. They'll still judge you. They'll still judge you. They'll still project their fears and insecurities onto you. That's just human nature. But the question isn't whether they'll reject you. The question is, what will you do with it? You can let it break you. You can let it define you. Or you can use it. You can take that rejection and turn it into fuel. You can let it sharpen your clarity, deepen your compassion, and strengthen your sense of self. Because when rejection stops being something you fear, it stops having power over you. And this is where everything starts to shift. When you stop needing their approval, you start living in your own truth. And when you live in your truth, something remarkable happens. The same rejection that once made you feel small becomes the very thing that makes you powerful. You realize that every no you've ever received, every judgment, every misunderstanding, it's all been pushing you closer to who you really are. It's been stripping away the parts of you that were never real to begin with. It's been forcing you to stand on your own 2 feet, to trust yourself in a way you never would have if everyone had just accepted you from the start. Think about it. If everyone in your life had always agreed with you, supported you, celebrated you, would you have ever learned how to stand alone? Would you have ever learned how to trust your own voice, your own instincts, your own truth? Probably not. Comfort doesn't teach strength. It doesn't teach resilience. It doesn't teach self-trust. And those are exactly the qualities you need to fulfill your purpose as a chosen one. But let's get practical again. How do you actually turn rejection into power? How do you take something that feels so personal, so painful, and transform it into something that works for you instead of against you? The first step is to stop taking it personally. This is hard, I know. When it's your own family, when it's people you love, it feels personal. It feels like they're rejecting you as a person. But they're not. What they're rejecting is the part of you that challenges them, the part of you that doesn't fit into their version of reality. And that's not about you. That's about them. It's about their fears, their limitations, their inability to see beyond the world they've built for themselves. Once you understand that, rejection stops being a reflection of your worth and starts being a reflection of their struggle. Next, you have to redefine what rejection means. Instead of seeing it as a door closing, see it as redirection. Every time someone tells you no, every time someone pushes you away, it's the universe guiding you towards something better. It's clearing space in your life for the people, opportunities, and experiences that are actually meant for you. And yes, that sounds easier said than done. But think about it. How many times have you held on to something or someone that wasn't good for you simply because you were afraid of what it would mean to let go? Rejection forces you to let go. It forces you to trust that what's ahead is better than what you're leaving behind. The third step is to take ownership of your story. Rejection has a way of making us feel powerless, like we're at the mercy of other people's opinions and decisions. But you're not powerless. You're the one writing this story. And you get to decide what role rejection plays in it. Is it going to be the thing that stops you, or is it going to be the thing that pushes you forward? Is it going to be the reason you shrink, or is it going to be the reason you grow? You have to take control of the narrative. Instead of saying, "They didn't accept me," say, "I had the courage to be myself, even when they didn't understand me." Instead of saying, "They pushed me away," say, "I walked away from what wasn't meant for me." Do you see the difference? One story makes you a victim. The other makes you a creator. And you are a creator. You're creating your life, your path, your identity with every choice you make. But here's the catch: turning rejection into power doesn't mean you stop feeling it. You're still going to feel the pain, the loneliness, the frustration. And that's okay. Power isn't about not feeling, it's about choosing what you do with those feelings. Do you let them consume you, or do you let them move you? Do you let them close your heart, or do you let them open it wider? Because that's the real test, isn't it? Can you keep your heart open in the face of rejection? Can you keep loving yourself even when others don't? Can you keep showing up even when it feels like no one sees you? That's what makes a chosen one. Not the absence of pain, but the presence of courage. Not the absence of fear, but the willingness to face it. And here's the irony: the more you embrace who you are, the more you stop needing their validation, the more you stop trying to fit into their world, the more they'll start to see you. Not all of them, of course. Some people will never understand you, and that's okay. But the ones who are ready, the ones who are meant to walk this path with you, they'll see you. And when they do, you'll realize something profound: you were never the black sheep. You were never the outcast. You were the light in the room, the one who refused to dim just to make others comfortable. So here's where we end: rejection isn't the enemy. It's the teacher. It's the force that's shaping you into exactly who you're meant to be. It's the thing that's stripping away everything false and leaving behind only what's real. And what's real is this: you are enough, exactly as you are. You don't need their approval. You don't need their understanding. You don't need anything from them. Because everything you've been looking for has been in you all along. And now it's up to you. Will you let the rejection define you, or will you let it refine you? Will you let it break you, or will you let it make you? Because no matter how many times you've been told you don't belong, no matter how many times you've been pushed to the margins, here's the truth: you were never the black sheep. You were always the chosen one. And being chosen is the greatest gift you'll ever have.